You've heard me say it once, you'll hear me say it again. The more we try to expand rights to every marginalized group, the more we actually start taking away certain protections. Now, as many of you know, I'm in favor of expanding trans rights to, there's nuance here, but let's just talk about this story. This male conservative politician says he's now a woman and is therefore free to talk about abortion. Listen, when you say that anyone can identify however they want, you can't criticize somebody who then says they identify as a woman. And what's really fascinating is that often when there are people like, say, Lauren Southern, who got her actual gender changed on her license, people say, oh, she's lying, she's faking it. Well, you can't make that distinction. You cannot, because at what point does someone get to be the arbiter of what someone's gender is? If you believe anyone can freely identify however they want, then you can't allow activists to determine who is or is not transgender. Therefore, if Lauren Southern wants to identify as a man, if this politician wants to identify as a woman, you can't argue against them because you're actually arguing over someone being able to speak for trans people. Listen, I understand there's a conundrum in that you want to respect trans people and you know these people are doing it as a political stunt. However, it's a slippery slope. If a group of activists can go on Wikipedia and say this person is not actually transgender, they could do it for anyone, right? They could. So if someone says they're trans, you have to respect that, including this male politician who wants to talk about abortion, including Lauren Southern. This is actually really funny, right? I'm going to read through the story. Somebody actually went on Wikipedia and changed all of this guy's pronouns to female, and they reverted it. And I strongly disagree with the reversion. We'll talk about that. So it says, National Senator Barry O'Sullivan has told Parliament he is declaring his gender to be a woman. So left-wing politicians will stop attacking him over his anti-abortion views. And I actually think this is an unfair framing. It's not that his ideas are necessarily anti-abortion. He's specifically criticizing late-term abortion. You can be pro-choice and against late-term abortion. Now, granted, this guy is pro-life for sure. But let's see what they have to say. O'Sullivan moved a motion on Monday calling for pro-choice activists to be banned from disrupting the annual Day of the Unborn Child, established by Pope John Paul II to provide a position option in favor of life, and is observed on March 25th. The motion claimed it was hypocritical of pro-choice activists to complain about pro-life protests near abortion clinics while also protesting at pro-life events. It was voted down 32-12. During the debate, Green Senator Larissa Waters said O'Sullivan should be ashamed of himself. Senator O'Sullivan needs to get his hands and his rosaries off my ovaries and those of the 10,000 Queensland women who have had an abortion each year, 10,000 women who have the right to make a decision about their own bodies without the opinion of Senator O'Sullivan getting in the way, Waters said during the debate. She later withdrew the comment after Liberal Senator Eric Abetz objected. O'Sullivan claimed it was these comments, which he characterized as attacks, that prompted him to declare himself a woman. Now, I'm going to stop right here and call out BuzzFeed for being bigots. And I mean this seriously. BuzzFeed, if O'Sullivan declares himself to be a woman, why are you misgendering him? If he chooses to be a woman, you should be using female pronouns. He specifically said this story is about how he wants to identify as a woman. Why do you get to choose not to use his pronouns? This is the problem. BuzzFeed is a major news publication, okay? You're a major news publication. And if BuzzFeed thinks they have a right to choose who is or is not actually transgender, then they're opposed to the actual trans rights activists who believe anyone can identify however they want. You can go ahead and claim this guy's lying. Let me present you with this scenario. Maybe he really is transgender, but he's scared. He's scared. So this is his way of actually coming out without having to be attacked. Because then people on the right will say, oh, that was really funny. And that's his way of, maybe not. I think he's doing it as a political stunt, but who is BuzzFeed to decide to misgender him? BuzzFeed, you transphobic. The Queensland senator said that the centre-right conservative politicians, such as himself, can't say the word abortion without getting attacked by the Greens. We can't open our traps. We cannot say the word abortion without being attacked by this mob of almost, I'd say, grubs. If I didn't think you were going to make me withdraw it, Mr. Acting Deputy President, but it's out there now, O'Sullivan told the Senate. These people come and attack me for my religious basis the other day, using words like rosary beads because I had the audacity to raise issues around late-term abortions where babies that are only minutes away from getting a smack on the arse and a name are now being aborted under the policies of the Australian Greens. And I also think it's funny that when it comes to Islam, these people have no problem defending religious freedom, But then they'll straight up attack somebody for being Christian. They're both Abrahamic religions. Why is it that people will mock the evangelical Christians but defend Islam? There are extremist factions in all religions, right? There are Christians who are totally fine and who are totally fine with pro-choice policies and gay rights. Why then will you smear them but not go after Islamic extremists? It seems entirely hypocritical. And then we have BuzzFeed, of all news organizations, deciding, no, it doesn't matter that he identifies as a woman. All that matters is that they think it's a political stunt. Therefore, based on their opinion, they don't have to use the pronouns he's requested. Well, isn't that really interesting then? Because if BuzzFeed has the right to do this, and there's no protest and no uproar, then why should anyone respect the opinions of any other trans person? That's the problem. If you can claim, BuzzFeed, that you are of the belief he's not being honest, therefore you can use whatever pronouns you want, then what's to stop a conservative person from saying all the other trans people are not being honest, and they can use whatever pronouns they want? If you're going to be of the opinion that anyone can identify however they want, BuzzFeed should be respecting the pronoun, right? Am I crazy? Why? But look, no one's going to protest this. So I don't want to read too much into his argument about pro-life stuff. Green Senator Marine Faruqi, who was in the chamber during O'Sullivan's speech, told BuzzFeed News Senator O'Sullivan engaged in what is depressingly common in political debate, vile anti-choice myths that seek to stigmatize women and the mocking of transgender people. His views belong in the Stone Age. In what way are you assuming he's mocking trans people? I think it's a fair opinion, don't get me wrong. The problem, you see, is that if someone in an angry tirade says they choose to identify a certain way, and you say they're mocking trans people, how do you know? How do you know? Who gets to draw the line as to who is actually trans and who isn't? It's not BuzzFeed, and it's not this senator. I would actually argue his statement's ambiguous. We can infer on what he means, and I think it's a fair opinion. I don't think BuzzFeed's necessarily wrong, but I am not going to draw the distinction in that politicians have a right to say, no, you're wrong, you're not trans. Imagine what would happen then if a trans person actually came out and a politician was like, well, you know what? We've set precedent in Senate. We don't have to abide by what you've actually declared. That's their opinion. It's one or nothing. It's all or nothing. You either agree with it or you don't. You can't pick and choose who you think is or isn't being honest. In July last year, O'Sullivan told BuzzFeed News, how could any living, breathing soul argue against reconfirmation of the sanctity of life? My party largely is a conservative party. You wouldn't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to know where most of the membership of our party sits on the issue of abortion. Many in the party and outside would like to lock pregnant women up and bind their arms and say no abortion could occur. He's a pro-life guy, right? And I think that's why many people think it's entirely an opinion, it's highly facetious. And look, I obviously think he's making a point, he's making a joke, and he is poking fun at trans people. The problem is, should BuzzFeed and politicians have the right to pick and choose who they think is or isn't being honest? Now here's where it gets funny. On Barry's Wikipedia page, all of his pronouns are he and she, are he and his. But there's a few really interesting things. First, someone edited a section called Australia's First Transgender Politician. And they said she is Australia's first transgender politician, and that's about it. They just added that line. This was reverted back. What you're looking at is the reversion. But I think was actually, I don't know if you just characterize it as, we'll call it interesting. Somebody went in and changed every pronoun of he to she and her. What's really interesting in my opinion though is this was reverted. They reverted it back to he. And right now in his, on his Wikipedia page, it does say he, which is also another interesting conundrum. When Lauren Southern announced that she was transgender, on Wikipedia they said we don't think it's honest, so we're not going to respect it. Think about that. Think about what that means. By what capacity is Wikipedia the arbiter of who is or isn't trans? If Lauren Southern says it's true, then you respect it. But now you have even Wikipedia editors saying, you know what, we're not going to respect what he said for these reasons. Is that fair? Honestly, I don't think so. Why should there be a debate over this? If the protesters are going to say, when someone declares it's true, then why are news outlets saying it is or isn't true at their discretion? If somebody actually is trans and comes out and says it in a way that people don't trust, are they going to have a debate over this person's identity? People on the left often complain that you have to respect their identity and their existence is not up for debate. If that is true, where are these activists protesting what's happening here on BuzzFeed, what's happening with these politicians saying he's mocking people, and demanding that they institute O'Sullivan's pronouns as a she. In my opinion, I think it's all entirely hypocritical. Because what would happen if a politician like O'Sullivan made a more legitimate claim, like actually was like, hey, I just want everyone to know that, saying they were trans, and that was the end of it? Would everyone then be like, okay, I guess they're trans? And then he comes out and say, don't you dare criticize me on abortion. The only difference here is that he said it in one breath. And so they say, therefore, we're not going to respect you. They're saying that he's anti-trans. And what's actually really funny, we'll give a little special honorable mention, is the top comment is from this guy who said, this shows us just how hateful the Republican Party is and how out of touch with reality of what trans people live with on a daily basis. To make light of someone's struggles is disgusting but typical of all Republicans. He's Australian. He's not Republican. These people don't understand that they're actually reading an article about Australia. Oh my God. Listen, plain and simple. Either you respect somebody when they claim they're transgender, or you don't. You don't get to choose who is or isn't telling the truth, because then actual trans people will be told they're lying. But that's the ammunition you get, and that's the double standard. And there's I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there before starting even more controversy with making, whatever. Anyway, I got a couple more videos coming up in just a few minutes. Apparently, the left no longer likes Bernie Sanders. In fact, I would say they protest him and they really don't like him. So stick around for that video coming up. It's probably already up on my channel. Check it out.